Hey everybody, Kris Gethin here, and this is the Knowledge and Mileage podcast. Now, I'm strapped up a little bit here now. However, a couple of days ago I wasn't, and that is when I interviewed our very first guest for this podcast, and that was six times Mr. Olympia Dorian Yates. Not only did we sit down and talk about his time and his reign as an unbeaten Mr. Olympia, but we also spoke about what he's doing today, how he still focuses his intensity into other areas of his life to allow him to expand, not just physically, but spiritually as well. So I'm sure there's something for everybody in this particular episode of the Knowledge and Mileage podcast. So sit back and enjoy.
I don't know, fuck, it didn't work today.
Yeah, all right. Are those
Anyway,
birds?
you
Are
got me
those
now,
birds inside your house, mate, or what?
Ah, they're fucking outside, man.
It sounds like you've captured them.
No, it's sitting outside, so nothing I can do about that. Ain't my bird.
No, but it's quite relaxing, isn't it? It's quite nice.
Yeah,
I
yeah, I'm
think
right by the sea. Right by the sea, and there's some palm trees here with some little birds singing away. So cool.
not bad. Life treating you well,
Yeah,
mate?
yeah, very nice, man. Good.
Not.
Been busy with the shadow line, but I'm at home for a couple of months now, so we can enjoy the summer. Been hiking today, done some yoga today.
Nice.
Yeah.
Perfect. So when you do your yoga, are you doing that like outside with an instructor still, or are you just doing that by yourself?
I do once a week outside with an instructor, and maybe once a week I might pop in a class somewhere. But I prefer outside if I can do it. Like stuck in a dungeon for 15 years, man, with no sun. And then when you come out, there's no sun either because you're in the UK. So I take full advantage of where I am now.
Yeah, for sure. All right, okay. Well, anyway, let me just start off this interview, even though I'll probably pop in a couple of pieces like that, mate, but I'll start this off now officially. So this
All right.
is a very special moment for me because I've been hosting this Knowledge and Mileage podcast for about 4 months now, and you're the very first person I've had on as a guest. You were the first person I definitely wanted to have on as a guest. I'm sure people won't want to listen to me just babble on for the next few months. So you are somebody that I've looked up to for many, many years whilst I was bodybuilding. And not only that, I feel that I still learn from you because we have some parallels. So there's a
Yeah.
lot of things that I can take away now, bodybuilding, so to speak, is still there for me, but not obviously as a competitive front, and it's not my priority. It's still therapeutic, but as I see how you evolve and you mold and you change, there's definitely some parallels there. So I want to learn a little bit more from the shadow who has come out from the shadows.
Yeah. Well, I met you. You were a kid, just moved out to California, right?
Yeah, I just moved out there in
Yeah.
2004.
Yeah. And then you got the gig with Weeder and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I was talking to,
Yeah.
because I only just came back from Venice 2 days ago. I was there Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and I was talking to a couple of people about when we were out there in Mac
Yeah.
Muscle, and then the time that we went to Gold's Gym, and the poor woman who probably had only, she's just a receptionist, and she asked for our, to pay to go in, and you said, no, 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 I'm a pro, because back then, I don't know if it's still the case, that all pros could go in there and train for free. And she said,
Yeah, I was trying to be, I was trying not to give her a hard time and like give it the big shit, like, don't you know who I am? You know, cliche. So I didn't even say, hey, like, I'm Mr. Olympia, come on. So I just was like, look, I'm a pro, so, we don't normally get charged. And she was like, well, have you got some ID? Have you got some proof that you're a pro? Have you got a pro card or something? So at that point, I just said, look, just turn around and look on the wall. That will be me.
yeah, and there's that big, massive picture that says Mr.
Yeah, so it just showed how much things had changed from like when I first went out there, 1990. It was the hotbed of bodybuilding. Like everybody was there. Gold's Gym was owned by Gronkowski and some other people, and it was very much a family atmosphere. Everybody knew everybody, and any of the pros or any guys competing in Olympia, given big respect. Whenever I went there, it was like nice reception. I used to go and sit in the offices and talk to the guy. They'd fill a big sports bag full of Gold's Gym gear for me to take home, and that's the kind of reception we used to get because it was like a family thing. And then you had the hotel down there, Marina Pacific.
Yeah, I remember.
With they had the bodybuilding restaurant in there. All the WIDA athletes used to stay there. I think WIDA had some kind of agreement there, so all the people from WIDA used to stay there. All the athletes, and they had the firehouse and all the restaurants. There was a real kind of family, more kind of community thing, and then WIDA sold out, and the offices are there no more. The offices are out there, of course, in Woodland Hills. Gold's Gym sold out to whoever, some corporation, I don't know. So
And then
it
World's Gym
became
left as
less
well.
of a kind of a family thing, and that just showed the difference. I walked into Gold's Gym, and the young girl working there, not her fault, but she didn't even know who I was. So that showed how much it had changed over the 10 or 15 years, I think.
Yeah. So if you go back there now, do you still go to some of the older haunts that are still there, like the fight,
Yeah,
or will you venture elsewhere?
I guess I'm a creature of habit because I still stay at the Marina Pacific, which is not called the Marina Pacific anymore. It's the Best Western, but it's right. It's at a good location. It's right on the beach there. I love Venice Beach. I love walking up and down Venice Beach and
Yeah.
seeing all the interesting characters there and different people and stuff. So I like to walk up and down there and bike up and down there. And I go to Gold's Gym. Fortunately, they know who I am again now. So
Yeah.
I pop in there, and yeah, I still like to visit there. It's a cool spot. If I got a reason to be out in LA, I always pass by there.
Yeah, it is nice. I like it. It's as if the place, when you go down the boardwalk, like I was
Yeah,
running down there just a couple of days ago, like beautiful sunrises, beautiful sunsets, but it's as if the place hasn't changed since like the 70s or 80s.
no, pretty much that boardwalk is like the same. I mean, some of the guys. There's one guy that goes along on rollerblades or
With a
something with a big
guitar.
turban on and a guitar
Yeah.
that don't work. He's been there for like 20 years going up and down that boardwalk. So there's some real characters there, and I like people like that. That's a little bit different.
Yeah. So this is just going a little off topic now, but that guy with the turban and the guitar, whatever, he owns quite a lot of real estate around Venice, but he just does his busking gig because he loves it.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I wouldn't be surprised. There's a great atmosphere on the beach there, so yeah, it's cool, man. I like to pass by when I'm in town.
Yeah. So now, like as I said before, you're the bodybuilder that I've looked up to the most for many years, and what I really looked up to you for was your mental strength. During that time, you was very single-minded. Now, what made you believe? What do you think that made you more single-minded over your competition? Was it because you wanted it more than anyone else, or was it because of your upbringing from the UK as opposed to the US, less distraction? What was it that had you, just such a sharp tunnel vision? I'd say, I'm not going to socialize. I'm not going to get distracted by these things. If I'm having a down day, I'm not going to let it bother me. I'm just sticking to my routine. And, I'm 365 of the year. That's
Yeah,
what I'm going to devote myself to.
I think it's the first one. I wanted it more. I wanted it more. Um, it was my passion, but it was also a route to change my life. I didn't have prospects. I didn't have a family support system or anything like that. I was out on my own, living in Birmingham. I'd been in youth detention centre, as people probably know, so it was like a jail. And, there was not many prospects of a bright future there, perhaps. But this bodybuilding thing, I grasped onto it, and I said, I'm going to give this 100%. And perhaps it sounds strange, but I didn't feel like I wanted to do this. It's like I fucking had to do it, yeah? And I don't know, it's very strange. It's almost like somewhere in my subconscious, I knew I was going to do it. I knew this was my mission. I knew I had to do it. And I knew that I couldn't let anything distract me from this goal. Absolutely anything. I knew that and I felt that. At the beginning, perhaps I was not thinking oh, I'm going to be Mr. Olympia or something like that. But I knew that good things would come from it. And even when I got to be British champion, I got somebody that saw me and had faith in me and financed me to open the Temple Gym. So even if I only got to be British champion, I got to, open a gym and have my own business at 25 years old. So perhaps if my bodybuilding career didn't go as I wanted it, I would have continued in that, in the business and gym business and so on. But, as we know, it did work out. But it wouldn't be possible for anyone to give anything more. It was total focus, and what you focus on in life is what you get back. So if you're all over the place and you're not focusing on anything, that's what you're going to get back.
Yeah.
If you want to be successful at anything, sports, business, anything, it's just a matter of what's on your mind. That's what's going to come into your reality. If you want to pick up tons of girls, all you think about is picking up girls and how to pick up girls and where to be to pick up girls. You'll pick up a lot of girls. Like,
You
maybe you're not the
studied
best
that?
looking guy, but if that's all you think, that's all you're focusing on, that's what you'll get. And if you focus on negative things, bad things, that's what you'll bring into your reality, into your life. So it's all about focus. It's all about your thoughts and getting some kind of control over those thoughts. Most people don't even know, they're not really even conscious about what they're focusing on, what they're thinking on.
Yeah, I often say that people don't have residence, not only of their body, because you see the extremes, especially here in the US, but people don't have residence of their own mind. They will
No,
look upon it as if it's a commodity, and they'll say, "I wish I had the discipline," instead of thinking, "Well, you do have it. You're just thinking it from an outsider's perspective, not internal."
yeah, maybe everyone's got it. I don't know. You need motivation, and I had a lot of motivation. I didn't have shit, man. I didn't have a car. I didn't. I won British championships, so I won British champion. I was British champion. There was, I don't know, 1,500 people there. How many people you get into Wembley at the time where it was held? I had 100 people come to the gym. There was 2 buses there. There was people there. It was great. I was British champion. I got the trophy. Yeah, I took the trophy home to my flat, council flat in Castle Vale, with no proper bed. I had a mattress on the floor. I had no carpet. I had a TV that just about worked, and a cooker, and a couch. And I was working on the door a few days a week doing security, just to, buy my food and everything. And that's what I went back to when I was British champion. There weren't no TV cameras outside my house. There weren't no newspapers. I got some publicity in the magazines, but that's 3 or 4 months down the line in those days, right? Before the actual show results come out in the magazine.
Yeah.
So it was a bit of an anticlimax. I mean, I put everything into the show. I dieted. I killed myself. I was like super ripped. And then you win, and it's like you're on a high, and then it's kind of you come back home, and it's a bit of an anticlimax because it's back to the same routine. But a year later, that's when I opened the gym. So things started to get a little bit better for me then financially, and I was able to buy a car. And it wasn't a great car. It was a Ford Cortina for £600, but I got a car.
That'd be worth quite a bit now.
Well, the thing is, I don't remember being unhappy. I don't remember being stressed about not having the money. It was just like it's like I was confident in my future. I knew something was coming, kind of inside. I knew it.
Yeah. So you said, it was a means to get you out of where you were at the time. So, a lot of people find bodybuilding therapeutic as well. Was it a form
Yeah,
of therapy for you?
I'm sure it was. I had a lot of anger probably inside from various things during my childhood, and my dad passing away, and my mom not really having the capability of to rear me and look after me. So I was a little bit on my own. At 16, I left home. So yeah, I was pretty angry. So that was good to channel that in the gym. It was like, you can't see it if you're watching me train. I'm not shouting and screaming and banging things. It's pretty much internalized, but it was like internal controlled rage. that I used on the weights. So yeah, I'm sure it's therapeutic. Any kind of exercise can be, because it takes you into somewhat of a meditative state. If you're lifting weights, you got to be like, 500 or 600 pound squats. You better be there. You better be present and aware. Otherwise, things are going to crush you, right? So you're focusing. You're focusing on keeping tight. You're focusing on controlling the weight, controlling the negatives, squeezing. You're inside the muscle. So while you're doing that, all the other bullshit that maybe is in your mind and stressing you out, it's all gone. It's all gone for that period that you're in the gym. So it was definitely a form of meditation. I realize that more now that I do actually formally do, sit down and meditate as well.
Yeah.
There's more than one way to meditate.
Yeah, exactly. So that was a form of active meditation for you then, where today you
Absolutely,
do
yeah.
more of a static meditation, I assume.
Yeah, and that had that anger inside. I was taken out on the weights, but like anyone else that wanted to deny me or stop me from where I was going, I wanted to crush them. I wanted to kill them. So that was in my mind, and no time for distractions and fun and stuff like that. Job had to be done.
Yeah.
So job's done now. So I've developed in different aspects of my personality, my character, and the spirit, and so on, where I felt probably I couldn't afford to then.
So yeah, you definitely used that anger and that channel to your advantage back then. But based on what you've since learned about yourself, spiritually, mentally, and physically, would you have changed anything different? I know you've said many a times you probably would have backed off a little bit on your training, but would your approach been any different to maybe possibly lower, cortisol levels? I know you're probably going for that acute response, but maybe not systemic.
No, because outside the gym, I was made every effort to keep calm and to not let things stress me and to get enough sleep and to get enough rest and everything. I was very anal about all these kind of aspects. So, not Arnold said this in Pumping Iron, so I don't want to pinch his quote, but it's pretty much like that. Like, if my fucking house was on fire, what I'm going to do about it, man? I got my workout. I'm going to go to the gym, do my workout, and probably try to deal with it afterwards, because that was, that the workout was sacred. And everything, my whole life revolved around the workout, and then recovering from the workout, thinking about the workout. I used to go to bed and like, if I got legs tomorrow or chest or whatever, I'd fucking dream about it while I was in bed. So, I mean, you need a certain physical characteristics to be successful in bodybuilding. We all know that. You need certain genetical things. But with that amount of focus all the time, it's like, if you got the goods, man, you're going to be successful. If you have that amount of focus and you 5'2" tall and you have short muscle bellies, of course, you can't, there's certain physical limitations you can't overcome. But that's why I was successful, is down to the focus. I'm sure there's other people out there with better raw materials than I had. Dismiss a little bit I hear things like this. Oh, Dorian had like average genetics, but he overcome that by working really hard. No, guys, I did not have average genetics. I had really, really fucking good genetics. But there are people out there with better genetics that didn't beat me and weren't able to beat me. So let's put that record straight.
Yeah, exactly. Otherwise,
Listen, I trained for 18 months. I did like an 8 weeks course of 20 milligram Dynabol, and I was competing in the World Games. I went to compete in a novice contest in England after 18 months training, one course of steroids that probably a fitness girl would take more now. And I was told by all the officials there, all the judges, they were totally freaked out. They said, "You're the best heavyweight bodybuilder we have in the country right now." I couldn't believe it myself, but that's what they told me. And like, once I got to see the competition, they were right.
How much weight did you put on during that year? Do you remember?
Well, I started training at English 13 stone. So what's that? That's like That's 140 and 45. It's like 185. 185, 190 was what I weighed. Very lean though, you know. I mean, intercostals, abs, everything very, very lean. That's what I started at. I went up to like 235.
Wow.
And then I cut down. I think it was 210 when I competed the first contest.
That's a huge gain. So yeah, obviously your
Yeah,
receptors, your genetics are definitely built for this.
yeah. I mean, I was, you know, even without taking anything, which I don't think you need to in the first 1 or 2 years. Anyway, you're going to respond, especially if you're young. So, no, I was just literally growing every time I went to the gym.
Now, one thing you mentioned to me um, a number of years ago that I'd like you to share a little bit more light on. I remember you said that, you know, a lot of people come up to you, say they want to be the next Mr. Olympia, they want to turn pro, will you help them? And a lot of the time, you know, you would ask, or I know somebody asked you this of you, I believe, at one point. Are you as desperate to win as you are as desperate to breathe?
Yeah, I pinched that quote from somebody, Steve Mahalik, who I've never met and is an old school bodybuilder from New York. And I was reading a story about him, and I can't remember what it was. It might have been John Defendis. Anyway, it was one of his pupils, and he said he wanted this, like, you know, he wanted to be Mr. America or whatever it was. So he said, "Yeah, okay, let's go to the beach this afternoon." So they went to the beach. So let's go out in the water. So went out in the water, and he jumped on this fucking guy. Yeah, he jumped on this guy, and he held him under the water. And this guy was struggling and panicking and struggling. He's fucking holding him under the water. This guy thinks he's going to drown, and he's fucking fighting and struggling. And eventually he let him up. He let him up, and he grabbed some air. And then he said to him, "You know how you felt when he was under the fucking water? How badly you wanted to get up to get that air? Well, that's how bad you need to want it to, like, fucking be a champion." And I always remember that. I thought it was very, very to the point. You know, so it wasn't actually my quote. I got it from somebody else, but it made perfect sense to me, and I used that for people before. Like, you know, you want it, yeah, you want it. Of course, you want it. Everyone wants it. Like, do you want to be a millionaire? Yeah, fuck, I want to be a millionaire. Do you want to be Mr. Yeah, I want to be Mr. Olympia. But how badly do you want it? And do you know what it takes to fucking be there? Are you willing to do that? Are you really willing to do that day in, day out for years on end? Because that's what it takes, man. So, like, don't be flippant with your, you know, oh, I want to be Mr. Olympia, I want to be this. It's not that easy.
Yeah, I think a lot of people will look at the success or the cars or the house or the recognition as opposed to the sacrifice that is needed for that.
Yeah, well, nobody really sees it, like, what you go through as an amateur to get there, right? Once you get to be pro and you win a pro show and you make some money and you got a sponsorship and you got a nice car and all this and everything, people see that and, oh, look at the new guy. Look at the new pro guy. Yeah, but he's not a fucking new guy. He's been training for 6 or 7 years, you know, to get to that point. And it's kind of ironic that when you get to be successful, then you get help, right? You get money, you get sponsorships, you get people wanting to help you because they all want to get on board now on the success train. But it's like when you're struggling, that's when you really need to believe in yourself and have the focus when, like, nobody's really there, because and nobody sees what you go through. That's the biggest downfall of bodybuilding competitions, I always thought, because if I'm a regular person and I go to watch a bodybuilding competition, it's just seeing some fucking guy on stage in his underwear with all these muscles that looks very strange, and he's just standing there doing poses. I mean, what is this? Like, every other sport, you see you see a touchdown, you see a guy running 100 meters, you see a guy jumping. You can appreciate, wow, that's fucking unusual. I wouldn't be able to do that. But a bodybuilding contest, you just see the end result. You don't see, like, you don't appreciate the amount of work and dedication that goes into that because it's not visible. You don't see it. So I often thought that they should have at a contest maybe a little, some intro into the guy, what he's been through that year or something. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's what I kind of liked about the Mr. Olympias when the videos would come out, or even the battle to the Olympias. You know, you'd get to learn about the competitor. Or when
Yeah, yeah,
a
a little
competitor
bit,
was
yeah.
up there, there'd be an intro. They'd talk about themselves, such as you did, So you'd have a little bit of an insight behind the character.
Yeah, or what the guy went through that year. What obstacles did he have to overcome? Did he have injuries, or what happened? You don't really know that. You just see the guy on the stage, and he's out of shape, and he's in shape, and you don't know the whole story behind it. And to hit a contest and be in shape is like it's artwork almost. It's like that's why a professional like myself, or Lee Haney, or Ronnie Coleman, or anybody you care to look at, their condition on the day of the contest will vary from one, Dorian was best in 93, or Dorian was best in 95, or whatever your opinion is. There's always reasons behind that. And sometimes, with all the knowledge and all the hard work, sometimes your body just don't respond the way you expect it to respond at that point in time for whatever reason. Or you might get something that in normal circumstances wouldn't make much difference. Let's say you get a little stomach bug, or you get a cold, or something like this, or a virus, or something, get a little sick, nothing serious. Well, that's going to cause you to hold water. That's going to affect your condition if it's like you're really dialed in. Just holding a little water will make a difference. A normal person, they wouldn't notice that because they're not like down to 3% body fat. So if they hold a bit of water, the body's a bit inflamed because they're slightly sick, or stressed out, or something like that. They're not going to notice. They're not going to notice when they get off the airplane that they're holding more water because they're not in that condition. So a lot of things can affect you even in the last couple of days.
Yeah, there's a lot of variables for sure, but like you said, if you look at yourself, Arnold, Ronnie, the condition from year to year didn't change that much. They may say, okay, you were best in '93, but your
Yeah.
condition throughout your reign and Ronnie's reign and Arnold's, except for maybe his comeback 1980, he was a bit smaller, wasn't that much. However, today you don't know which bodybuilder is going to show up. Somebody's either going to be really on or somebody's usually really off. Why is there such a fluctuation in that variable today?
Well, I don't know because I'm not privy to what guys are really doing in preparation, but it seems to me that the bar is really lowered on condition. Guys, I'm actually starting to look and appreciate the guys in the what's it called, the new category with the shorts, the little shorts.
Oh, the classic?
Classic physique, man. Guys are coming in and in
Yeah.
great shape, very separated, in great shape. Why are the guys in the regular class are not doing this now? Because they're just shooting solely for size. Yeah, and this may sound strange coming from Dorian Yates, who everyone says is the first mass monster, but I never came into the contest like at maximum size. I came in with a combination of as much size as I could maintain, but with being super shredded, super conditioned. And we all took a lot of pride in that in those days. I was talking to Kevin Levrone a few weeks ago. We were doing some appearance together in Poland. And I said, do you remember when we used to go to Mr. Olympia? And we all had track jackets zipped up to the fucking neck, right? But you could tell who was in shape because you're just looking at the face.
Yeah.
The guy's got a face like a skull, and you can see all the muscle fibers around the jaw, and then the eyes are sunk in the head. This fucker's in shape. You can see that, yeah? Now, if you look at the guys at the Mr. Olympia, they're all looking happy and full and round, like they didn't really diet that much. And of course, the guys are using a lot of insulin now, probably for contests and so on. That maybe is making a difference. I saw a pro show. I'm not going to say which one it was and who the guys were, but I saw on the internet was one very recently. And the two guys that won, they look like they're about 8 weeks out from the contest. They got abs, okay, but no separation anywhere else. I mean, big and full, yeah, but not separated. So
Do you think it's influenced somehow today by society? People will point the finger at millennials having it too easy. Everything's accessible on your phone. You can get food delivered to your door right now. Everything is very much a comfort as opposed to having to place a commitment. So do you think we've become softened by the environment a little bit too much and a little bit lazy? So when it comes to some real hard graft, like dieting down for a professional bodybuilding show, you'll generally take the easy way because everyone else is, and it's not being
Well, I
awarded.
don't know. It just seems to me that that kind of pride in your work ethic and your ability to like diet, it fucking hurts when you're dieting, man. I was hungry all the time for the last 5 or 6 weeks. No energy. You got to drag yourself in the gym and try and train harder than you ever did and reduce calories. I don't really see that spirit. If you, I'll use that word. I don't see that spirit, man. I don't see that warrior spirit where people really want to push themselves. They want they want the physique, they want the trophy, they want the kudos, but they'll do it as, kind of as minimum effort as they can, it seems. So there's a different spirit, there's a different culture, and maybe it's a sign of the times. But if guys in the classic physique can get in shape, why can't guys in the regular Mr. Olympia get in shape? If you're a Mr. Olympia or in the Mr. Olympia, this should be the pinnacle, right? So not only should you be carrying more muscle mass, you should be carrying the condition as well. You shouldn't be able to look at an amateur competition or a classic physique or so on and find a guy that has better conditioning than Mr. Olympia. That shouldn't happen, but it is happening because I think in the pros they feel they need the size, and that's the be-all and end-all, and they're not combining that with conditioning, because to do that they would have to come down a little bit in size. But if you come down a little bit in size and you show more separation, I believe your physique looks more impressive than, one that's not really truly in condition.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people said when they would see you compete in person as opposed to what you would see in the magazines. Because of your conditioning, it would give out like a three-dimensional look that was much more overpowering.
I had great conditioning, and of course everyone's talk about the grainy. What is the grainy look? Well, that's like super dense muscle fiber and low body fat. From consistently training heavy, and you get a different look to a physique that trains heavy. You can see a physique that trains heavy as opposed to one that doesn't. Even if they have the same muscle size, muscle volume, it doesn't look the same. You could tell that Ronnie trained heavy. You could see the density in the guy, the strength. The same with Branch Warren and Johnny Jackson. You could see these guys train heavy. There's a different look to the muscle fiber. And that's what I had. I had very great density, and then I combined that with super low body fat.
Yeah. So back, when you were competing, there weren't many gurus around. You had like Chad Nichols, you had Chris Aceto, Charles Glass, mostly with the training. You never had a guru, but now you have transitioned into different areas of your life with your yoga,
Yes.
your meditation. Have you sought a guru now, or you still use yourself as a methodology?
No, man, I don't know shit about yoga, so I have a yoga teacher who knows more about yoga than me. I have a private teacher, and I might drop into classes. And as far as meditation and spiritual work, I have a few people that I learn from. I think the kind of approach that I had in bodybuilding is almost like the approach that I use now in my spiritual path and learning, is that I'll learn from a few people, because I don't think anybody gets it all right all the time. So I'll listen to this, I'll listen to this, I'll listen to that, I'll weigh it up, and I kind of make my own decision. I did that in bodybuilding. I never had a coach, I never had a guru or a nutritionist or anything. I did it all myself, but it doesn't mean to say that I didn't learn anything from anybody. I learned from quite a few people, but I put it, I pulled it all in from a little bit here, a little bit from here, and kind of refined it into my own system and my own understanding. So that's what I'm doing now as well, yeah.
So do you think everybody, like you've spoken to me about, the benefits that you get from meditation and yoga, of course, but do you think everybody, like everybody should do some form of exercise? There's no doubt about it. I think
Everybody should do some form of exercise, absolutely. for
But
your
what about
physical health.
meditation? Should everybody be doing a form of meditation,
If you
Gethin?
meditate regularly, your life will get better. Why is that? Because life is just a reflection of your thoughts and the vibration that you're giving off. You'll attract experiences, people, etc. into your life. They will come into your life depending on the vibration that you're giving off, so to speak. So if you meditate, you will have a better vibration. You'll be calmer. You'll have a better energy, and that will be picked up by the universe and reciprocated back. So, they're doing now some very enlightened schools I saw somewhere on social media that now, instead of putting kids in detention or putting them in the corner, they're giving them meditation, and the results that the kids are getting, and the improvements in their behavior and everything is amazing. So I think everybody can benefit from meditation. I didn't really know. I mean, I knew I was focusing in the gym, so there was a form of meditation, but I didn't really understand meditation where you sit down and close your eyes and think about nothing. It was like, I don't really understand that. But it's not truly that you're going to sit down with your eyes closed and think of nothing anyway. Nobody can do that. You attempt to do that and you keep resetting, so you concentrate on something, usually your breathing or something like that. You've got a lot of good guided meditations. That would be a good place to start for people if they find some good guided stuff, because it's going to tell you what to do. Sit down, put your hands like this, breathe like that. And they call it the monkey mind. Whatever it is, something's always going on in your mind. So you focus away from that. You focus on your breathing or focus on something, and maybe the chatter will start again, but then you focus back on your breathing.
Yeah.
You don't get frustrated. You don't try to fight it. It'll happen. And okay, it'll happen. Go by. Like a thought, like a cloud. Okay, go by and go back. Now I'm back to my breathing again. And you just keep doing that, man, until the link gets stronger and stronger, so you're able to spend more time out of that chatter or the monkey mind or the babbler or what various things that people call it.
It's kind of like, if you've got experience in weight training, the analogy would be, you get that neuromuscular pathway, so you get a better mind-muscle connection, but it takes time. And it's going to be the
Exactly,
same thing with work in your brain, like to begin
you need
with.
to keep going over that pathway, back and forwards, and it gets stronger.
Yeah.
Like anything, you got to keep, you got to keep doing it. And the thing with meditation and also with yoga is there is no limit. There is no limit. In bodybuilding, there's a limit. In most sports, there's a limit, and there's usually, maybe your age or injuries or, there's some limit somewhere that you'll reach. So that's what fascinates me about meditation and yoga, is something that I can do for the rest of my life, and I'll never be. There's always more to learn.
Yeah, for sure. Now, you've built your body, everyone knows this, and today you're building your brain. But there isn't a Mr. Olympia for your mind. There's no quantifiable way of measuring your brain strength. But how could somebody work on their brain as well as their body every single day and know that they're going in the right direction? A lot of people are a student of learning. They will read books, but they would never apply anything. They'll just learn. How would they know if they are going in the right direction with what they...
If you don't, you can learn, and you've just got theoretical information. You've got to do it, whatever it is, man. You've got to do it. I could sit and read about meditation for the next 20 years, but if I don't do it, it's like, what use is it really? You got some theoretical information, so you got to do it, whatever it is, man. I took a little time to learn about meditation, just like I took a little time to learn key things about the gym before I went there, so I wasn't wasting time. There's so much stuff out there, and books and YouTube and everything, and if you got a will, you'll find a way. They say the teacher will come when you need it. So actually, that's what I did with yoga. I was like, I kind of came to the conclusion that I wanted to do yoga, or I needed to do yoga. And I didn't run out and go like find the first teacher or go to a school or anything. First thing I did is like just put it out there. Like I need to find a yoga teacher, but I need to find the right one, and I just put that out there, and the right one will come along. And you know, I chat to a few people that are kind of like-minded than myself, and eventually I found a teacher that was great.
So have you read and studied The Law of Attraction?
I probably haven't read that book, but yeah, it's the same kind of thing as
The same sort of
the
thing.
law of attraction. It's the same. It's just what I'm talking about. It's like vibration, compatibility.
Exactly.
And what you focus on is what you can get. But you got to be realistic. If you live in the north of China, right, and you're going to go focus and meditate on, you want to meet a 6-foot tall blonde lady, and you live in China and you never leave your house, like, it's not going to happen, right? You got to give the universe some chances there. You're just increasing your chances by being in the right vibe. Yeah. And then you got to be in the right place as well.
Yeah. So I notice there's a lot of similarities when you're talking, because I've studied the law of attraction, and Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now.
It's the same thing that many people have, they put their own little twist on it, right? And they write a book, and it's the same core thing.
Yeah. So you said that, bodybuilding, it isn't something that you can kind of do, especially at the intensity that you train, for the rest of your life. You can't.
No, I didn't say that. I said there's a limit.
A limit.
To how far you can go. I didn't say you couldn't do it all your life, because you can do it. I mean, you look at Robbie Robinson, is 70, 72 or something. He's been doing it all his life, and it is amazing. He's in great shape, and for him, he continues to be enjoyable and helpful and so on. So absolutely you can do bodybuilding all your life. What I'm saying is there's a physical limit to your development. Even Robbie Robinson, he looks amazing for 70 years old, but he hasn't got the physique he had when he was 35 years old. He's not as big, he's not as muscular. So there's a limit that he reached somewhere, and he wasn't able to maintain that. So that was the point I was making.
Okay. So what about with what you're doing that now? Like, do you have a number in your head, Dorian? Like, I'm going to live past 100. Do you have something that you aim towards now?
This is what I aim for. Personally, for myself, is a good quality of life. Yeah. So whether I live to 60, 70, 80, I would like to have a good quality of life. I'd like to be functional. I'd like to be able to move. I'd like to be able to do things. I don't want to be ill and not able to enjoy the physical things and go outdoors and cycle and hike and go to the gym, all these things. So I want to be in good physical shape, because the body is just a machine. It's just a vehicle, right? It's not you. It's not your spirit. It's not your soul. But you need it in order to function in this reality that we're in. In this world, in the physical world, you need the body. Yeah. So if your body's not working properly, your quality of life is going to decline. So it's not so much like I want to live to be 200 years old or anything. I just want to have a good quality of life while I'm here, and a good functional body. That's the goals for my training. But more than that is like, I want to help raise the vibe of this world, raise the vibration, raise the people that listen to me on the podcast, the people that meet me, the people that I'm able to touch in some way. I want to try to help them, inspire them on this path, and I believe that's what my path is now, as strongly as I believed when I was training to be Mr. Olympia. Is now I'm here. I've got a platform that I got from being Mr. Olympia, where people are listening to me, and I'm trying to use that in a positive way, and trying to let's try and make the world a better place, and we're all part of that. The world, the state of the world, everything that's going on is just a reflection of our collective attitudes and energies. So if we can change them to be of a higher nature, then I think the world will change, along with us.
Yeah. So let's use this medium right now then. So What are you doing? What is Dorian Yates's daily routine now? Training, nutrition, meditation, that somebody could possibly take from this and implement into their own lifestyle?
Well, I don't have so much of a routine now because that was one thing that I wanted to break a little bit was the regiment that you must do this at this time and you must eat at this time and must do that. It's very restrictive, yeah. So as far as eating, I don't really have much routine. Um,
But when you're making a
my
food choice, are there
Yeah.
certain food choices that you make now then?
Well, I don't eat meat now. I haven't eaten meat, like as in red meat, for about 3 years. For a few reasons, health reasons. I'm studying nutrition now for health as intensely as I studied nutrition for bodybuilding. And of course, there's new developments all the time. I'm a member of quite a few newsletters and, I watch a lot of stuff. I read a lot of stuff. And it seems to me there's so much evidence that a lot of animal foods is just pretty bad for you. It's pretty bad for your health.
Even if it's grass-fed or humane raised?
It's probably a little bit better, but even this. So I call it a plant-based diet. I don't like to say I'm vegetarian or vegan because it's like in a box, right? So I'm on a plant-based diet, which means I eat mainly plants. I might eat a little bit of chicken breast once a week. I might have an omelet, some eggs once a week, something like that. But apart from that, it's all vegetables, grains, pulses, beans, nuts, seeds, fruits, and so on. So, and I feel much better on this diet. So there's the health reasons, the spiritual reasons, because I like animals and I don't want to be involved in their suffering anymore. Maybe I don't care too much about the chicken because I eat them sometimes. So.
What about the fish?
Fish I'll eat occasionally. I'm not a big fan of. I only ever ate fish. I don't like seafood. I don't like that, rats of the sea that eat the shit from the bottom and all that stuff. So I only ever ate fish. So occasionally I'll have fish. Maybe once every couple of weeks or something like that. So there's not an absolute rule that I'll be vegan or vegetarian. I might, if I'm hungry one day, I might eat a cheese sandwich if there's some cheese in the fridge, but it's rare, It's not very often, and being aware of the environmental effects as well. If you look into the environmental damage that's done by cows and cattle farming and dairy farming, it's amazing. It's destroying the planet. It's unsustainable. We can't keep doing it. So
You mean the gases?
the gases, the huge amounts of water that's required, water and grain just to produce a little bit of meat, the deforestation and so on to make land for the cows. Have a look into it, man. I haven't watched it because I've watched other things, but there's one movie called Cowspiracy. I think there's a lot of information on there. And, I used to work in a slaughterhouse. I don't know if we ever talked about this, but I used to work in a slaughterhouse when I was 18, 19 years old. So I worked in a slaughterhouse and I killed animals and I cleaned up the blood and I cleaned up the blood and guts. I used to sweep up fucking sheep's balls off the floor, like all this stuff. I was immune to it. It's like I could have been working in a car plant. It made the first couple of days you're there, like maybe like a bit, whoa, this is, but after a while you get used to it, yeah. So, I've been there. I've had a lot of meat, obviously. I've killed animals, and I've worked in the place, so I know the reality. And at some point, I just thought, these animals are really suffering. Just not just when they're getting killed in the slaughterhouse, from the day they're fucking born, right? And if the world is a reflection of the collective, yeah, and we're all connected, which I believe we are. We don't need to go into it in depth now, but I think people are aware. I've done a lot of work with psychedelics and so on, which give you a different perspective on things, and I can see that everything is all connected. Any kind of separation is an illusion, yeah? So if the animals are suffering, we're also suffering. somehow it's going to come back on us. So the world would just be a better place if we, and you don't have to do it like, oh, you're going to be vegan. Just try cutting down a bit at first. It's good for your health. It's good for the planet. It's good for the animals. So, and the more greens and vegetables and so on you eat, it's like your body adapts and starts craving that. I
Mhm.
remember,
Yeah.
I remember a friend, a business partner of mine, and this is a few years ago, obviously. He was like, "Wow, I feel like I just want a really big, nice, big salad. Do you ever feel like you want a big salad?" And I was like, "What the fuck are you talking about, man? You sound like a gay or something. Like, I want a big salad. There's some fucking meat and potatoes, man. What are you talking about?" So, I know I was there, man. So I don't judge anybody where they're at. This is just where I'm at now. And if I can inspire and help people to kind of make a step in that direction themselves, then it's all good.
It's funny that you should say that because for about 2 months every year, I'll go vegan. I'll
Yeah.
say I'll go full vegan. I went vegan last year for 2 months, and I even tried intermittent fasting for one of those months whilst being vegan as well. Did that 5 days a week. And you definitely feel good, feel better. It takes a lot of strain away from your digestive system. You feel a little bit more energized, a little bit more have more cloudy. But it's funny that you'd say because when I would break my fast, I'd
Yeah.
always eat my raw vegetables first and salad, and then cooked vegetables, then my protein source, and then maybe finish with either a fat or a carb. But now I crave salads all the time. I'll go to the Cheesecake Factory like when I'm in LA or here,
Yeah.
not for the cheesecake. I go there for the salad because they do an amazing big salad there. And quite often at home here, I'll have salad, big, massive bowl, several times a day because after a while, your body is craving not so many calories, but the micronutrients that's packed in as.
It's craving nutrients, and that's what you're getting from the plants. Not only that, you're getting electrical energy. Plants have got a charge from the earth. If you walk barefoot on the earth as well, you get a charge. Yeah,
Yeah,
it
I have
recharges
an
you.
earthing mat.
Yeah, I mean, I walk every day barefoot. So um, we're electromagnetic beings. I mean, inside this lump of meat, this physical body, they're electromagnetic beings. And there was a very fascinating guy called Dr. Sebi, Sebi, if people want to look up Dr. Sebi. And Dr. Sebi was a healer. He was healing a lot of people, mainly in the African American community in the States. And at one point, he said, "Right, I'm going to put an ad, full-page ad in the New York Times that I can cure any disease. I can cure cancer, AIDS, diabetes. I can cure any disease." Of course, all his people that loved him and are concerned about him said, "Like, man, don't do that. You crazy? They're going to come after you, man. They're going to come after you." He said, "Yeah, I know. That's exactly why I'm doing it." Yeah. So he put this ad in the New York Times. They came after him. I don't know who it was. Probably American Health or something like this. Anyway, they took him to court because you can't claim that you can. Nobody can claim they can cure cancer. It's actually illegal, right? So they took him to court, and the judge said to him, "All right, I want you to bring one person from each of these 7 serious diseases, and I want it documented that the medical system, they couldn't cure this guy's cancer. They told him he was terminal, and he had to go home. And then later on, he's fine. Like, this guy was HIV positive, and then after your treatment, he was negative. I want one person, and I want documentation from 7 diseases." The guy turned up at court with 70 people. He turned up with 10 people from each disease, and the case was thrown out. So he proved in the court of law that he could cure any disease, and he did this with plants, herbs, and fasting. And his whole thing, he called it electric food. So we're electric, we're like a battery, right? And if your electro charge gets low down, well, you're going to get sick, right? So you charge it back up, you get better again. So he recommended eating only, vegetables, fruits, nuts, seeds, naturally occurring foods. And he took it a step further, whereas not even any hybrid foods. I didn't know this. I didn't know that a carrot is not a natural plant. It's not a
That's been
natural plant.
created by man.
It's been cross-pollinated. Yeah, they get two plants together and they cross-pollinate them, crossbreed them. Not sure exactly the technical terms, but anyway, carrots, broccoli, cauliflower, all these things are not naturally occurring in nature. So he went to the extent of, recommending only naturally occurring plants. But the point is, they don't only have nutrients; they have an electrical charge as well. So that's why they work so well for health.
Interesting. So while here I just moved into a new home about 4 or 5 weeks ago. So we've got a herb garden outside. We've got fruits that's growing. We've got strawberries growing from the garden. We've got herbs and lettuce and whatever out the front. We even got some chickens. Um, to make sure we're trying to control my environment as much as possible.
Yeah.
So do you like eat mostly when you do eat organic just to ensure it's not genetically modified or has glyphosate on there, or anything that could potentially show that there's some sort of cross contamination, not only within the vegetable but the pesticides, the herbicides, etc.
Absolutely. I try to eat organic as much as possible. It's like sometimes it's not possible. If you're traveling,
Yeah.
you're in an airport or you're at a hotel, you can't control your food and everything. Then you got to eat what you got to eat what you got to eat. But if I can, if I'm at home, then I eat all organic.
Yeah, for sure. Like, do you notice because you're getting this electrical charge as well, that it actually affects you positively, physically and mentally when you do consume these foods? And then when you're out traveling, do you notice the big difference pretty much straight
Yeah,
away in the mental
that's
clarity?
apart from the whole hassle of getting on and off airplanes and going through security and waiting in lounges and all that stuff, I don't like. Um, I don't like traveling so much because I can't control all my food intake, and so the energy goes down a little bit. Actually, I did a little experiment because I thought, you know, let's go for a steak. Let's go for a Argentinian restaurant where they've got organic, grass-fed beef, and let me have a steak. And once in a while, let's see what happens. I've done it a couple of times, and the same thing happened both times. Is like the next day, I really felt shitty. I felt like my energy was down and everything. Whereas before, I didn't notice it. Obviously, if you're doing it every day, you're not going to notice it. But if you take a break, then I notice the difference. So I'm pretty much like, I'm done with that. I'm not going to be eating any more meat. There's no point.
Yeah. And what about okay, so that's one thing that you control your environment with. What about things like, obviously when you're traveling in an airport, you can't control this. But what about your EMF rays, that come from your computer, your Wi-Fi, your TV, stuff like that?
Yeah.
You try to control that as much as you possibly can.
Yeah, I got some things I stick on my phone.
I've got the
To,
exact same here. There's one there maybe. Is it safe
try to
for that?
reduce that.
Yeah.
And I had a necklace as well that you wear, and it kind of protects around you. I gave it to my daughter, but I just ordered another one. So, yeah, I'm making an effort, man. Like some things you can't control, like whatever's in the air. And they're spraying shit in the air all the time. I see them here doing it. Chemtrails. I guess it's to manipulate the weather. That's what they say. But who knows? You can't control it. So I don't like beat myself up about things I can't control.
Yeah.
I control what I can, and then the rest is like whatever. And like you're gonna stress yourself out about it. There's nothing you can do.
Yeah, there's no need to get paranoid about it because that stress is
No,
probably going to have more harm.
I control what I can. I eat as good as I can, and sometimes you got to compromise. That's the way it is.
Yeah. And like I noticed, like from since the very first moment I met you, you'd always drink bottled water. Now,
Yeah.
is this always been a fact with you because you've been like kind of concerned of the contaminants that is found in drinking water?
Yeah, I never drank tap water. Like I don't know, I haven't drank tap water for like probably 30 years. Bottled water is better, but it's not ideal because of the plastic and so on. But probably when you're talking about we were hanging out in Venice and so on like 10 or 15 years ago. now I got at home, I've got a unit fitted in that ionizes the water, so it gives it an electrical charge again, like the food, ionization, and it alkalines it as well. So that's what I drink at home, and I even got a flask now that I can put regular bottled water in, and it'll alkaline it and ionize it as well. So I'm controlling my water intake mostly. But listen, if I'm out in a restaurant, I'm not going to take my special water container with me or something. I'll just have bottled water. So,
Yeah.
but 90% of the time, I control what I'm putting in my mouth.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if you know this, Dorian, but like the regulations in the US are very much lower than what you have in Europe. So, for instance, like with the coffee, with the chocolate, with the grapes for the wine, the grains, etc., there's a higher toxicity within molds, like mycotoxins. So,
Yeah,
for instance, the grain, when the grain is picked, is put into a vat, but it has to be dehydrated. Otherwise, mold will grow from it, and it's the same with the coffee bean and stuff like that. However, if the UK or the Europe, I should say, regulation says we cannot use this, discard it, the
yeah.
US will say, well, we'll take it, so it's shipped over here. So one thing I'm very concerned about, I don't get paranoid about it. I just control it as much as I can. So if I'm purchasing a coffee, I'll try to go the mycotoxin-free coffee. If I'm
Yeah.
getting a grain, I'm very careful. I pretty much go grain-free a lot of the time, but I'm very choosy of where I pick that from, as opposed to the UK. Are you aware of this, and is this something that you try to control?
I know they have less regulations in the States, and they have genetically modified foods over there. I think in Europe the regulations are tighter, but there's still a lot of shit in the food, pesticides and so on. So yeah, I just the food that I buy at home, I know it's good. I go to a shop, uh, it comes from local farms and so on. If I have chicken, if I eat chicken at home occasionally, I'll make sure it's organic. Um, so yeah, I control what I can. Even porridge oats now they found glyphosate in the oats and so on.
Wow,
So
really?
yeah, I think there was a case in the US, if I'm not mistaken, where somebody sued them because in the packet it says 100% natural, and they found traces on there. So I think somebody got a big payout.
Interesting. Now, you mentioned about the plastics before, so obviously you've got the BPA, BPS, and
Yeah.
the the estrogen promoting plastics. That's what sometimes people call them as well. So, do you like stay away from Tupperware now, as opposed to? I'm sure you pretty much lived out of them for 15 years.
Yeah. No, I don't. I don't feel the need to carry my food everywhere these days. So I eat it off a plate, mate. No, I don't have the Tupperware. But I mean, you can go too extreme on this and be like Howard Hughes and never leave your room or something. So try to keep it in perspective.
Yeah. Okay, so you've got an autobiography out now
Yeah,
that just came out recently. So, what can people expect to find in this book that they don't already know about you?
a lot of stuff. I mean, it's an autobiography, so it's about my life from when I was a kid and through teenagers, going to jail, and then getting into bodybuilding and all the little stories and stuff. And we got a chapter about steroids in there, not to brush that under the carpet or anything. So there'll be a hell of a lot of stuff in there. There's a little bit of biography in Warrior Story and Blood and Guts, but they're primarily training books and
Yeah.
training and nutrition. From the Shadow is nothing to do with training or nutrition or anything like that. It's to do with my life and obviously bodybuilding and the competitions and characters that I met are a big part of that. So it's really a life story, and everyone that's read it so far has found it very fascinating. So, From the Shadow, you can get that at fromtheshadow.com. At the moment, what I did is I printed 1,000 books, hardback, very good quality, and they're numbered inside. So they got a number from number 1 to number 999. So they'll be collector's items in the future. We will be printing some paperbacks and ebooks in the future. That'll be cheaper, but right now we're doing a limited copy. So Blood and Guts was my first book, and I think it was a $20 book or whatever. They're selling now. I mean, not numbered, not signed, not nothing. They're selling now for up to $200 on eBay because they're out of print. So
Oh,
they're more.
I've got one of them back in Wales.
You hold on to that, mate. It'll be worth a fortune.
Right. Okay. So how many of these numbered ones do you have left? Do you use them both?
999, and I think we sold about over 600. So there's like 300, 350 or something left of those books. So if people want to get them, they should go get them pretty quick.
Okay. As soon as I hang up, I'm going to be on your site and I'm going to grab one myself.
All right, man.
Speaking of, your new ventures. So you've just, correct me if I'm wrong, you've just launched a new line, correct?
Yes.
So, so why the new line?
It's a new line, new bodybuilding line. I got new business partners, new investors, new formulators, everything new, and we wanted to just make a whole new bodybuilding line. So that's the Shadow line. Go online and check it out, man. It's super quality from the packaging to the materials. Everything is super high quality, and we're going to bring more products out in that line. And in the background now, we're working on more of a lifestyle line, kind of like what we're talking about now. More, the Shadow line is really like Dorian, the bodybuilder, as used to be. And then we're going to develop a new line, which is more health and wellness kind of related. So we're working on that as well.
Okay, so one will just, promote your performance, your recovery. Another one's going to maybe help, with your mitochondria, help with
and
detoxification.
general health and so on. I'm also working on a product which will be in the Shadow line, the bodybuilding line, obviously. Kind of like a steroid protection formula, if you like. So certain compounds in there to control your cholesterol and protect your heart and your liver and the things that kind of come under a little stress when you're taking steroids. I don't think anyone's done that before.
No, I've never heard of that. That's a great idea.
Yeah. So, try to give back. I was a steroid user, and probably a lot of people that are taking the supplements are as well. So, if we can do something to try to assist and give a little protection in that area and make it easier for people to do, rather than they have to try and figure it all out for themselves, which supplements they can take. So we're trying to put that together in a pack right now. So that's in the background. Got a lot of stuff going on in the background.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you very much for your time, Dorian. Really, really appreciate your patience, me getting this
Thanks for having me on, mate.
up and away.
Yeah, look, few technical difficulties to get started, but it's all good, man.
Hey, it's worth the wait, buddy.
All right, bro. Well, you take care, man. I'll speak to you soon.
Okay, thank you, Dorian. I appreciate it.
See you, everybody. Ciao.